Okay, so today, to deepen our connection with ourselves, we are going to do this thing where we're going to pick an area of longing in our lives. I'm sure you've got at least one, right? I mean, and there might be many, and so maybe you want to do this with all of them. But we're going to pick an area where you are longing for something, where you have previously longed or continue to long for something. You know, it's an area of longing, wanting. Hope is kind of a different thing, but hope does give us a clue, because hope and longing can kind of quickly morph into each other. You know, hope is okay, but then if it goes beyond hope and into longing, that's when we want to pick it up and play this game with it. So where is that area? That already kind of gets us thinking, like, where do I, have this longing in my life? And there's some like self-awareness and deepening with the self just in finding those spots. So where are those areas? And then once you find an area, where am I longing? Then we're going to set up a game with very clear boundaries and like impossibilities, and ask ourselves, so with this area of longing, if it was never going to be possible, and I found out today it is never going to be possible to have this from this point forward, what would I do to have the best life possible, knowing that that is not possible, my daughter, actually, she may or may not like me using her as an example in this one, but she was longing for some friendships, certain types of friendships, certain levels of closeness with friendships. And we did this, and it really handed us some amazing material and solutions. And that's why I'm having you do this. Immediately I was like, okay, so if right now, I mean, it's extreme. We're playing a game. It's a dare. It's extreme. It's not really going to happen this way. And I'm not trying to like crush her hopes or her dreams, but I had to ask the question, like a dare, if you were no longer going to meet another friend in your life from this day forward, and you knew it was going to be like that. We landed on a desert island, or, something happened to where you would never meet another friend, a new friend from this point forward ever again. What would you do to make your life as awesome as it could be? What would you do to enjoy your life the most you could from this point forward? You still want to have the best life possible. What are you going to do? Because you're not going to meet any friends from this point forward. And it kind of forces your head out of the longing. Like, because, she's like longing, like someday it'll make everything better if I have these friends. And, and there's like getting to be too much fantasy in there, not real life, but fantasy. Too much of the longing and too much of her real world is kind of hung up in this, if friends were here, I want these certain types of friends, and it's got to be like this, and one day, and if only, everything would be better, and so it's occupying too much of her real life and keeping her from being in her real life to have all this projection and this fantasy going. And so, I was just like, all right, what would you do? What would you do if, that was not going to be a possibility? So if you were longing for your dream job, and that's like something that's gotten to the state of longing. Okay, lay down the rule. It's impossible for me to do that. I will never do that job. If I know I will never do that job, I will never find that job. There is no dream job. That will not happen. If I couldn't work, or, whatever, something happened to me, but I cannot work, and that is not going to happen, what would I do at that point with that removed to make sure my life is still as awesome as it could possibly be? And go through it, write down the things. What would you do? Explore all the areas. And I had to do this with myself. This totally came from me. I was single for a very long time. And I got to a point of longing. Like, if I had a partner, if, only when, if and when, and this longing for this partnership. And then I had to say at a certain point, like, let me just assume that I'm never going to have a partner. Let me assume that I'm never going to find that person. And a lot of people say this, like, when I finally gave up on searching, that's when it all came together, That's when the big aha happened. When I decided to just, like, make my life what it could be for me. That's when everything came together. So yeah, do that. Like when I decided, okay, I'm never going to meet the partner. What if I never do? Let's assume that I never will. What am I going to do to enjoy the heck out of my life and have the best life possible anyway? What am I going to do? Like starting today, what would I do each day, today included, to like have the best time that I can without any partner? And I'm never going to get the partner. So I'm not going to spend today hoping that I'll get one tomorrow. I'm going to spend today knowing that I won't have one tomorrow. And what am I going to do? And again, go through all of the things that you would do to have the best life possible, to enjoy your life the most that you could. My daughter, I'm going to give you her examples because, yeah, they were really telling. You know, she said, well, I'd spend a lot more time with you and my brother, you know? And it was like, yeah, okay, cool. Maybe that's what's triggering some of this longing anyway. Maybe we're not getting enough quality time. Maybe we should add some more of that in, like now, you know, maybe that's what's contributing to this longing feeling, you not getting the quality time. And then another thing that she said was, I would really try harder and like really tap into all of the current friendships and the people that I do already know. If I can't meet anybody new, I would really tap out the relationships that I do have, all the people that I currently know, to fish around and really try the hardest that I can to create the relationship that I want with them, to see if it's possible to have that kind of closeness with them. And it was like, really telling, like, yeah. And also maybe you're not doing that enough now, right? Maybe, and isn't that active? Isn't that something you could really be trying now anyway? You know, trying to really put yourself forward more in the relationships that you do have to see if the closeness that you desire is possible. And that is something that you have control of and that you can really do. And that's something that, you know, could kind of expand you too, because maybe you're hoping for everything to come to you in a way that's unrealistic, you know, and doesn't really step you into, being empowered in it, you know? And so like, yeah, there you go. Maybe that, gives you something to work on or some feedback about yourself, that, you know, might be really helpful to you, because maybe that's part of the problem. Maybe you're not really putting yourself out there as much as you think you are. And then another thing that she said was, I'd spend a lot more time, you know, playing at the river because I just feel so good when I'm there doing that I don't long for anything. And it like really makes me feel like life is great no matter what. So that's my happy place, you know? And so I'd spend a lot more time playing at the river. And it's like, yeah, wow, now we know that you've got this like resource of fuel. You know what is your happy place, what gives you energy and lets you live the best life possible and feel great no matter what. Like even if other things aren't perfect, you don't have to be in a state of longing when you're playing at the river. Like, what a good tool to have, to know that about yourself. And then she said, oh, also I would read more books. I would have so much more time on my hands, or I wouldn't be worried about, you know, I would know that like I don't have to make a lot of time for friends, because that's not going to happen. And so I'd use my time reading books because that's something that she also loves. And also I think there was a component in there of I would kind of have friends in the form of characters in the books. And so, you know, there would be this like getting that diversity of experience or sharing in a deep personal way through books and characters in a book, the way that you long for in friendship or whatever, through books. And, you know, so it was like, man, she just gave me these answers. No, they didn't just like fly out. She thought about them for a second, but she wasn't even realizing how like poignant they are until we started talking about it, you know, where it was like, hey, maybe the quality time thing with us and your family is like what's creating some of the longing. And hey, maybe you're not putting yourself out there with your friends as much as you could be doing, or as much as you think that you already are. Isn't that telling? Or hey, you know, really, ultimately, what we should be doing for the next week, you know, and this is part of the game, because I'm like getting out of my story and back into the, like, here are the rules of the game. once you take this area of longing and set up a scenario where it's like it's impossible for you to ever get it, what are you going to do to make your life the best possible? And once you come up with this list of things, of course, you're going to examine what kind of information is in there for you. You know, what kind of information is in there for me to learn from, to grow from? What kind of things might be happening that I'm not realizing? Like maybe it's the quality time that's, you know, I'm lacking with my family that's making me long for friendship more, or, you know, whatever. And extract what you can that's helpful and, you know, telling and something that you can learn from. But then do it. Do every single one of the things on that list for the next week, every day for the next week. If my daughter reads more each day for the next week, spends more time with me and her brother every day for the next week, goes to the river and splashes around every day for the next week, tries more with the people that she knows to get more closeness and, you know, really fish around and see if there could be a good solid relationship in there with that person for her, available for her, every day for the next week. What will happen? What will happen? I mean, number one, maybe the friendships will develop. Two, maybe friends will just start coming to her because, you know, I don't know, some sort of like, you know, energetic thing gets worked out and they just start coming to her. Or three, maybe she doesn't long for it anymore. The longing shifts. And, you know, because she's just feeling fulfilled by these other things. But I definitely know it'll shift somehow. You know, something will shift. Try it for the next week. You basically just came up with your own answers. You know, you asked yourself a dare and you just came up with the best set of things for you to try, the best answers from, you know, deep inside of yourself, the most telling best forms of, you know, guided. It's like no guru could be better. You know, you just came up with all the best material to get to the root of the problem, or to learn what you need to know and change what you need to change. But you just also gave yourself like a list of things to try, the very things to try, to really put in action, you know, do them, really do them, for the next week and really get some real results, some real answers and some real change and some real aliveness, and to just be living your best life, you know, to move the longing out of the state of longing, to get yourself out of the fantasy and into the reality. And, you know, if there is a way to really bring friendship, this has got to be it, because now I'm really living and I'm really concentrating on, you know, that longing, and taking it out of longing and into like just real action. So anyway, that's what I liked about this game. She just came up with all of her answers right there, and it really has helped. It's been awesome. So see how you like it.